Okay, so that'll bring us to Tabaxi, the new playable race. And there's a little bit of information in the news section about like why they chose Tabaxi. Uh, but we'll just kind of start. We'll maybe start with their. Or is there a place you want to start? We can start with appearance or whatever, wherever we
You
want to
just get
go.
on the list you got.
Yeah.
It's fine with me.
So how do you feel about how they look?
Well, I personally believe that they are the best looking race that SSG has done so far. Um, I forget who it was that said, or maybe it was the article they published on the website that said they knew they were finished when you could click the randomize button, and they all looked good no matter what. And there is a little bit of truth to that, where Tabaxi just looks good, and they can blink, and there's so many customization options that I thoroughly enjoyed and spent a lot of time when they came out just playing around with the variety of customization options that they have.
You know, I have liked recently with the, and this is partly because of the races that they're doing, but also because of what they're doing with the races. I think shifter, tiefling, and tabaxi, like the choices feel like they matter more as opposed to like some of the earlier races where it's like, wait, how are the eyes changing? I don't really see how the eyes are changing very like it's really subtle changes. But like these
Yeah.
recently they've all like the choices really make a difference in what the character looks like
By
holistically.
earlier races, do you mean like the human
Yeah.
halfling? Okay, I can agree with you there. I just rolled up a halfling for racial life, and the eyebrows themselves are a wonder.
Yeah, it's just like the choices are more distinct, I've noticed. Um yeah, I like how they move and like everything looks really slick about them. I haven't been able to really put a finger on it and maybe you just did. I have felt a little bit like their mains don't quite fit into the like the artistic scape of DDO. Like they're so different for me, they stand out. Not necessarily in a bad way. It just feels like, oh, this race belongs in it. It like came from a different game. Um, I also haven't really ever considered Tabaxi to have. Look, I'm not a huge lore guy. I didn't realize that they had or could have big mains like that. So I was a little like, whoa, this looks more like a lion than I was expecting.
Yeah, I also think going above my expectation. So my expectations were low
Uh huh.
because Shifter, in my opinion, looks absolutely terrible. So going from Shifter to Tabaxi, they exceeded my expectations, but now they've kind of set the bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like from now on, any race they introduce is going to be judged based off of Tabaxi, which can be good, but it can also be bad when if they don't meet that standard.
Yeah, moving targets, right? I mean, yeah, uh, yeah. The appearance, like the blinkings, are really kind of. What's funny is I don't think I actually knew that they blinked until I was interviewing the devs for the last show, and I said, "Oh yeah, they blink." I'm like, "Wait, they blink?"
Really? I was
I
on
didn't notice that at all.
Lamb making one, and in the character creation screen, I just saw it blink, and I had this moment of, do all the other races also blink? Because I never noticed it
Yeah, right?
before. So I had to go back and look to see if any other races blinked, and they didn't.
Yeah,
So
I know.
it's funny how you don't notice, but also you notice things like that.
I did. In fairness, I did not spend a huge amount of time in the character screen, and it was mostly like looking at the options, like and then clicking through them pretty fast. Because I tend to assimilate information pretty quick, so like I would just like click through the different looks to kind of get an idea of what they look like. Uh,
You know I'm a cosmetic guy.
yeah, I know this is why you're here, right? Like I need you to be good for this. Uh, but like for the characters that because the tabaxi that I've made are my reincarnating character, I usually just take the randomized look. I don't go through them because I just choose
Hmm.
not, just that's only gonna be here for life, right? And then I'm gonna change it, and just go with what it gives me and see what happens, right? Uh, but yeah, they look slick. That's for sure. It was definitely not what I was expecting to them to look like at all. Uh, and I'm still a little unsure about the big giant manes, but everything else looks really good. Um,
So mine does not have any hair. I went with a cheetah style, like Indiana Jones type look, and my opinion is if you look cool, you got to be powerful. Like the two go hand in hand.
uh
It's not all about the big numbies.
huh. Let's talk about some of the things they get. So they have the little the speed boost thing. Uh, and then their enhancement tree. And how do you feel about the trees and stuff?
So I think that so we had a guildie come back recently and asked the question, what's what build is perfect for Tabaxi? And my answer is there isn't one. Maybe Shuri is perfect, like perfect for Tabaxi. Um, but the reason or the reason there isn't just a perfect quote perfect build for Tabaxi is because it's just a great utility tree, and it could work with so many things. I'm running it right now on my monk. I played it with Inquisitive, Bow. It, evasion in the tree is really nice for classes that don't get that or don't want to wait until Shadow Dancer or can't spend points in Shadow Dancer to get evasion. The deflect arrows is cool, but I noticed specifically I've done now 6 or 7 Tabaxi lives on my various tunes that 18 seconds of movement speed if you take it, it's just it speeds up leveling
It's amazing.
so much. It's amazing. So I'm thrilled. I know from a power perspective, people might not be as happy about it because there's almost in a lot of situations there's going to be a better quote better race just from a numbers perspective, but they get +3 to attack or +3 to damage. 2 sneak attack dice, and the dodge bypass is going to be useful in Isle of Dread. So I think they're a great race. I think it's a powerful race.
Yeah, the cat speed is like one. It's really nice, right? Like you end up you don't realize how much you're gonna end up getting a benefit from it until you start really playing it. Um, but I really liked that interpretation of like because in fifth edition Tabaxi, which I'm playing one in the Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign that we're doing, uh, they have you can double your movement speed, and then it resets whenever you don't move. Uh, and I was expecting them to get an action boost, speed boost, like just a vanilla one that everyone has, that all just like every other class. So this was kind of a surprise to me, and I just really liked that design choice. It's on point for the race and pen and paper as an interpretation. It's a lot of fun and really useful. Like I just really liked that choice. So it kind of started off everything with kind of a really nice perspective. Um, but yeah, the sneak attack die is nice to see in there. There's I do find it interesting that we're talking about a race that can choose between charisma and dexterity. I'm not I'm not sure if we have another race that can like
I
that's.
don't think maybe Drow. Drow has
I
Dex
thought
and
it was charisma.
Charisma.
Is that what
I
there
think
is?
it's Dex and Charisma for Drow.
Okay.
But originally it was all going to be Charisma and Dex or Wisdom and Dex, and I remember specifically several of us having conversations would still start begging to have the base race be Charisma Dex and the Iconic be Wisdom and Dex, which is eventually what it was, and
Right.
I think it's a great choice.
Yeah. Um, the here's a bunch of things that you can use dexterity to hit with. Was great. I like that. I'm pretty sure it's in here that you can. yeah, and then you can upgrade that to damage. So that's always I always like seeing more ways to use different stats. It always just feels like a really nice touch to me. Uh, with that, just because it opens up more character options and character build choices and stuff like that. So that's always great to see. Um, yeah, the base tree was, I think, really solid. I'm still not entirely sure how much dodge bypass is going to be a thing. But I mean, the numbers there are so low, anyways. It's kind of like, oh, cool, whatever. Um,
Don't sleep on it.
yeah, no, I hear you. I'm
Um,
sure it'll
I
become more and more.
I played around on Lamb quite a bit this week or last week, and it's going to be noticeable. So I have my two-handed fighting
Hmm.
fighter with no dodge bypass, and uh, it was a pain attacking some of the new mobs that have.
Interesting.
I don't. I hate to throw out a number out there, but it's noticeable. It is noticeable dodge. Whereas you take a ranged character or my monk that had 10% bypass at the time, and it makes a world of difference because it's almost a flat increase in DPS if they have 1% dodge
Hmm.
and you're missing, that number of attacks. It's so. Anyways, I think it's going to be more useful in legendary levels, and I just when Isle of Dread comes out, give it a try.
Yeah. What's your sense on the Trailblazer?
I don't own it and I've not played it,
Oh, okay.
but I have seen Speedy play it as a monk, quarterstaff user, and he did a live with us. And he did well. It was fast to say the least, and it seemed to do decent damage, and he had fun. The wide sweep ability in tier 4, the trip one,
Yep.
it's really good. So he enjoyed it, and that's really my experience with it so far.
Yeah.
Have you played it?
No, I haven't. Um, it does intrigue. Like, I like the kind of the differences that are there. Um, it doesn't feel too quarterstaff focused. Um, I don't think my monk is going to end up here. I think he's still going to stay in SMR. But I do. Again, I do like the design choice a lot. I've said this a number of times on the show, but I continue to like how their choices for iconic class and race pairings make a lot of sense, but aren't usually the first thing you would think of.
You mean specifically in this case, actually going with a quarterstaff build?
Well, no, I'm just like Tabaxi and Monk. Like that's not something that necessarily stands. Again, I'm not a huge Thor guy, but like that, it's not something that I would necessarily think of right off the bat. Tiefling Bard is
Sure,
pretty
I
close,
see
but you'd
what
probably think Sorcerer first, right?
you're saying. For
Um,
sure.
Warforged Paladin, like these are all choices that they've made that are not ones that I would like. The most obvious one that I think is uh Deep Gnome Wizard, right? Like that one's pretty on the nose. ASMR Ranger, like these are not choices that I think would be a typical choice, but I don't know that any of them really like push the meta in any capacity, but they are interesting. They're generally pretty decent, uh, and I just like that they're there and really encourage a different way of thinking about building characters. I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you. Um, uh, I do. Just thinking back on the builds that I've played, I seem to play the base races more in
Yep.
general. Maybe that's a cost perspective of, hey, I don't want to use a lesser heart if I'm not doing the class that the iconic was
Hmm.
designed for. But I agree. I think it's good design choices, and it's cool and adds a little bit of flavor and diversity to the game.
Yeah. Shift your barbarian, right? Like it's not like when you. It's not what I would have expected at first, and I don't think anyone's gonna come out and say that the hand wrap barbarian is pushing the meta in any way, shape, or form, but I love that it's in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it specifically on that one. I wish that one was a little more competitive,
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
because I do think that it is nice, not going with the obvious choices for some of these races, if there is always an obvious choice. But just as long as it is, um, I would say on par with,
Yeah.
yeah. But maybe I didn't give that one enough time. But
Yeah. I don't know. I tried it. It was okay. It wasn't knocking my socks off or anything. It honestly it felt mostly on par with a lot of the other ones. Um, but yeah, the tiefling scoundrel works. It may be one of the better ones. I mean, Deepwood gnome it's a gnome, so like already kind of on point.
yep,
Um, but I think they all work pretty well, just not
I
great.
think
And
so. Um,
I think this one's a little bit above par for the iconics. That's what it feels like to me from having what I've seen.
Scourge worked really well when Ranger was
Hmm.
meta itself. It's a good tree, and yes, it's not what you think, but Scourge was a good build at the time. Or when I say at the time, probably a couple, 2, 3 years ago,
Right.
and it can still work today.
Oh
Don't
yeah.
listen to me when I when I say things aren't meta anymore.
I think you could take any iconic build and with a few tweaks off of the pathing, you have a solid build choice that could compete and play and keep up with anyone. So, and I think this iconic Trailblazer is there, and I like the design choices. I like some of the abilities, like getting true seeing and tumbling to get incorporeality and concealment. Like a third of the time
You
is
mentioned the true seeing.
oh, you don't like the true seeing?
It bugs me that it is worded differently than all the other true seeing enhancements in the
Oh,
game.
sure.
But yes, true seeing is fine. I
Mm.
just consistency.
Like the spring attack in there is pretty neat. So yeah, I there's some great design choices, and then the stuff that it has a lot of unique things in here that I like that's in here. And yeah, I am kind of looking forward to playing one. It is coming in my lives in the future. But also just I I like the look of it. And I've seen a couple people playing them through, and it looks great.
I agree.
Uh, Anything else you want to say about the just Tabaxi in general, the feel of them, how they play, anything like that?
I just feel cool when I'm playing my Tabaxi.
Yeah, they're a cool looking race, a slick race. I like the um. How do you feel about the dances
I
without
I
the
like
dancing?
them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like them. It's I've tried the male ones. I'm trying to think if I've seen the female ones.
I actually think I've only seen one of the female ones. You
I
should,
think I have because I think that's the one where she licks her paws. I think so.
yeah,
Anyways, they're good. I approve.
I agree. Uh, I don't know who is in charge of like figuring out the dances or if it's a group effort or something, but I'm constantly impressed by most of the dances.
I think I heard someone say either Tolero or maybe Cordo that it's one of the more consuming aspects of creating a new race, or a light resource consuming, is
Well,
making the dances
okay, because you have to find one that works and looks great, and then you have to
and
animate
animate
it.
it. Yep.
But it also needs to not be too on point of certain ones, right? Um, it sounds like I think I remember. I think it was in their thing about their write up about dances and like how they need to not have them be necessarily like copy someone else, or like so you would probably never get to see like a Gungam style dance just because that there might be copyright issues there. So, but yeah, I like the dances. They're fun.
Let's avoid lawsuits.
Yeah, right. Um, yeah, good dances. Uh,
Well, all in all, I'm very pleased with Tabaxi,
yeah.
and even though I generally felt that Isle of Dread, at least the packages, um, didn't offer as much as some of the previous ones have, it made me feel a little bit better that Tabaxi was just so well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you.